真っ白な景色に今誘われて僕は行くよまだ見ぬ世界へ
Though I'm still relatively new to this genre, anime is a genre I have fallen in love with so much thanks to its wonderful stories, unforgettable characters, incredible action scenes, and just plain outstanding moments, and I feel lots of other people would feel the same way if they got into anime. The only problem is getting into anime is easier said than done. Anime might be a genre that has a strong following, and for a good reason, but even I have to admit getting into anime can be rather intimidating. All of the huge amounts of anime out there, the generally over-the-top and weird nature of anime, certain anime being made for certain audiences, the often frowned upon cliches, and anime that is just plain shit. If you're someone that has trouble getting into anime because of the reasons listed above, take it from someone who felt the same way. Do it. It will so be worth it at the end of the day. But where exactly do you start? Well, that's a hard question because everyone has their own personal preference concerning works of fiction, and I can't just recommend anything. I mean, hell, some of the best anime out there like Evangelion, Fate Zero, Berserk, and Madoka Magica, I would not recommend as your first anime. However, I feel there are some anime that are a great starting point for people new to this genre, as they can often tell strong stories and have memorable characters, while not being bogged down by many of the aspects that put people off anime, and I refer to these anime as gateway anime. But Blazing Knight, I hear you cry, what gateway anime are the best? Well, that's why we're here today. So join me everyone, as it's time to embrace the world of anime once again, as I count down my top 10 gateway anime. Before we begin, I need to clear a few things up. First of all, this is just my opinion, and I'm ranking these anime based on how well of a gateway anime I find them to be, in the sense of how good they are at getting people into anime, not the overall quality of the show. Secondly, is that I'm only looking at anime I've seen since I can't say much for anime I haven't watched despite its reputation, and thirdly, I'm looking at anime series only, not anime movies or Studio Ghibli films. Also, for my final point, I'm not including any of the following anime on this list. No Pokemon, no Digimon, no Beyblade, no Yu-Gi-Oh!, no Dragon Ball Z, no Sailor Moon, no Cardcaptors, no Naruto, no Bleach, and no One Piece. Why? Because we've all seen at least one of these shows and I'd rather not include anime everyone has seen or is nostalgia blind to. Isn't that right, Dragon Ball Z fans? And with all that cleared up, it's time for us to enter a brand new realm of reality. It might be scary at first, but these anime will help open the gates and let us embrace all that anime has to offer. And once it grabs hold of you, you will never want to let go. Attack on Titan. I'm not gonna lie, I'm putting Attack on Titan at the bottom of this because I reckon a lot of you have watched Attack on Titan already. I mean, it was the most popular anime of 2013 after all, and for a damn good reason. Attack on Titan really is a great anime, and I think it's a wonderful place to start if you're new to anime. Granted, it has been hyped up the arse, and it might not live up to the reputation it has gained at this point, and I myself don't think it's the best anime ever, but I won't deny that this is a very strong anime, and an anime I feel just about everyone can get down with, regardless of your preference. Unless you're against anime dubs, because Titan's dub is not doing it any favours. At this point, I think it's safe to say we all know the story of Attack on Titan. Titans attack humanity, humanity lives behind a wall, the wall is breached, a young boy wants to fight back, tensions rise, humanity fights against the Titans and themselves, etc, etc. While this is something everyone knows, this is one of the main strengths of Titan, as the story is really engaging because you want to see how humanity can rise up against such a great evil, made even more compelling with how humanity struggles to battle itself. Not only that, but Titan's lore and narrative are filled with a lot of mystery that helps to keep you wanting more and discover more about what's going on, but there's enough there to begin with you to make up your own ideas and theories, so it's an easy story to get into, but can also be dug deeper into as well. Characters are another strong point in Titan since they all have a lot of personality and a story to tell, not to mention it's great to see them grow throughout the narrative and make it literally through hell and back. Another great strength with Titan is its drama. There's a lot of death and depression in Titan that you really feel the hell these people are going through, and when someone dies, it feels genuinely sad and you want to see people make it through this ordeal alive. This is why I think Titan was such a big anime, and still is. The story, characters and drama feel very genuine and real, that it's easy for people to connect and relate with what's going on, as well as showing a side of life we dread, but at the same time we know could possibly happen. More in relation to the human drama, not the 15-meter derpy looking monsters, because they don't exist. I hope. I feel this is probably why a lot of new anime fans got into anime because of Attack on Titan, and to be fair, I think it's a great place to start too. Not to mention, the series has some amazing animation in its action scenes, as well as one hell of an awesome soundtrack, so it's easy to see why Attack on Titan smashed open the anime floodgates. Now hurry up with season 2 for fuck's sake. Gundam Unicorn. If you decide to watch anime or already watch it, at some point in time, you will watch a Gundam series even if you're not into mecha anime, because of how much Gundam means to anime along with the bajillion plus series associated with it. Now if you have to watch just one Gundam series or want to start getting into Gundam, I recommend the best one to start with is Gundam Unicorn. Admittedly, it was a tough choice between Gundam Unicorn and Iron Blood Orphan since both are fantastic series and some of the best to introduce you to the Gundam universe. But I think Unicorn is better for newcomers because it's shorter and has more to do with the Gundam universe and lore. Plus, Unicorn by itself is one of the best Gundam series in the franchise, so you really can't go wrong with Unicorn. Gundam Unicorn takes place near the beginning of the Gundam timeline and tells the story of Benaja Lynx, a seemingly normal boy whose life is drastically changed one day when he meets a girl named Audrey Byrne, who is in search of an item called Laplace's box, and the story follows these two as they journey to find this supposed box, as well as hopefully stop the ensuing war taking place. Unicorn's story isn't anything new to the Gundam series, but it cuts out most of the fat and gets straight to the point. But don't you think for 1 minute that this is a watered down version of Gundam, because Unicorn still manages to portray many of the themes the Gundam series is known for. Because of this, I feel Unicorn is the best for newcomers as it can essentially deliver the whole Gundam experience without the risk of falling victim to some of the lesser aspects of the Gundam series, as well as being one of the more standalone series rather than having to watch a certain other series in order to get the full grasp of this one. I also think Unicorn being an OVA series helps in this regard, since there's a lot less to get through and it's not nearly as exhausting as watching an entire 50 episode series. Outside of that, Gundam Unicorn is one of the best Gundam series from the presentation alone, since to this day I still think it's the best looking Gundam series, and the soundtrack is also great. Plus it has one of the best dubs in the Gundam series, with the voice actors of characters like Bato, Mikuru Asahina and Missy from Pokemon in it. Gundam Unicorn also has some of my favourite Gundam moments in the entire franchise, and most of them are where the characters are just talking to each other, because it's honestly really interesting to hear their views on war and show the sense of moral grey Gundam is known for, and it's obvious at this point that I love stories about moral grey. I mean, if I didn't, why the hell would I talk about this series so much? Whether you love or hate mecha anime, Gundam is one series I feel any anime fan should at least try, and if you're only going to watch one Gundam series, then I feel Unicorn is the best place to go, offering the full Gundam experience without any of the bullshit, and looking just so damn pretty while doing it. Trigon. I find it funny that certain creations do well in other parts of the world compared to where it was originally created. I mean, both Warcraft and Pacific Rim did much better internationally compared to domestically, and Trigon is another case of this as it did much better in the West compared to the East. This makes sense considering Trigon's Wild West setting and more Western influenced story, but Trigon isn't on here because of that. It's on here because Trigon is a classic among classics and is an anime I feel everyone should watch. Trigon is such a great and timeless anime since it does so well in just about everything, and it's a wonderful watch for just about anyone, as well as showcasing some of the best 90s anime had to offer, and trust me, that is a bold statement if I do say so myself. Trigon tells the story of Vash the Stampede, aka the Humanoid Typhoon, an outlaw who has a reputation for being the most destructive and dangerous person alive. However, when we actually meet him, we find out that Vash is a complete idiot, but still a competent fighter and the best marksman there is. And now I've probably opened up a shitstorm in the comment section about who the best marksman in anime is. Anyway, the story pretty much follows Vash as he goes from town to town saving the day, fighting bad guys, eating donuts and making an ass of himself, along with meeting new characters and discovering the secrets of Planet Gunsmoke. One of Trigon's biggest strengths is in its simplicity. Trigon is a very easy anime to understand and get into, since the stories aren't anything complicated, but they offer up a lot for people to enjoy and the characters are very much the same. Not too deep, but a lot of fun nonetheless and very memorable. However, much like with Attack on Titan, there's a lot that Trigon doesn't tell you in order to engage you more, and even some of the characters have more complexity than they let on. Another great thing about Trigon is that it's able to balance both light-hearted comedy and some really dark moments seamlessly together. Plus Trigon also has a great soundtrack and a great dub as well, though I will admit visually it hasn't aged too well, so it's not the prettiest looking anime ever. But even still, Trigon is the textbook definition of a classic, and it's an anime you should watch whether you're brand new to anime or have been around since the beginning. And don't forget the timeless saying, this world is made of love and peace! Ghost in the Shell Standalone Complex. Science fiction is my favourite genre in regards to, well, everything. I love sci-fi books, I love sci-fi movies, I love sci-fi video games, and needless to say, I love sci-fi anime. Now I reckon even if you're the most casual of anime viewers, you at the very least know of the movie Ghost in the Shell, but you may not know of the series Standalone Complex. Well, you should, because hot damn is Standalone Complex one of the best anime series I've ever watched and is a brilliant place to start watching anime, especially if you're a fan of science fiction. But even if you're not a fan of sci-fi, this is still an all-around great anime and something you shouldn't overlook. I mean hell, this anime made it to the top of my most surprisingly awesome anime list, and trust me, that wasn't an easy feat. Ghost in the Shell Standalone Complex is about an intelligence team known as Public Security Section 9, led by Major Makoto Kusanagi, who solve various different cyber-related crimes and terrorist attacks. Ghost in the Shell's story is very much various individual stories that tackle different subject matters, while occasional episodes focus on the overarching narrative, similar to anime like Darker Than Black. Because of this, Standalone Complex is very easy to get into since most of the stories are self-contained, and can be enjoyed by the most casual of viewers. But the subject matter being presented offers a lot of substance for those who look deeper into things and like to have debates and discussions. From beginning to end, this series is a great time, and there isn't a single episode that stands out as bad or dull, and it is helped greatly by its characters. The characters of Ghost in the Shell make this series since each of them are very well written and have a lot of depth and personality to them, not to mention having certain episodes dedicated to their backstory or character arc. On top of that, this series looks amazing for something that came out almost 15 years ago, the soundtrack is great, the dub is one of the best in any anime, and the series is just an honest to god amazing experience throughout. So much so that this is one of the anime I've rewatched the most, right up there with anime like Claymore, Bakuno, Trigon, and High School of the Dead. Don't you judge me, I like that anime for different reasons. I might be somewhat biased because I'm a huge sci-fi fan, but I honestly feel anyone can enjoy this series, and while they may not love it, at the very least I'm pretty confident they'll like it, and as far as gateway anime goes, this is definitely one ghost you don't want to leave in its shell. Soul Eater. The shonen genre is arguably the most popular anime genre, and to be fair, it has a right to be, since shonen anime are a ton of fun to watch and have some of the best moments in anime as a whole. But with that said, shonen anime have some very nasty anime cliches, and I reckon not everyone will be down with watching them. Well, that's where Soul Eater comes in, since I feel Soul Eater is one of the best examples of how to do a shonen right, since it has all the elements that make a shonen such a loved genre, but gets rid of most of the unnecessary crap, as well as having a story and characters that can stand on their own and make Soul Eater its own unique thing. So Soul Eater very much ticks all the boxes, which is something you definitely want when going into your first anime. Soul Eater's story follows 3 separate pairs of characters, as each of them are set on harvesting enough souls in order to make one of them become a death scythe, and pretty much become the strongest in the school. However, like in typical shonen fashion, there is much more to the story the further it goes along, as many new characters are introduced, new events unfold, and the stakes are raised, so while simple at first, things become much more interesting later down the line. Soul Eater's main draw, I feel, is how it pretty much condenses what most shonens do, but in a way that it has the same amount of impact without all the fluff, since each arc lasts the right amount of time, and you feel a real sense of progression and growth from the characters the further the story goes along. That's another thing great about Soul Eater, the characters. My god, does Soul Eater have one of the most colourful cast of characters in any anime, as each of them are just filled to the brim with charm and personality, and hell, some of them are actually really complex, and others you just love to hate. Also like Trigon, Soul Eater is able to balance both its humour and its dark moments very well, so that it never gets too silly or too depressing, though I will say Corona really wasn't helping in the depressing department. And as such, you end up with an anime that's easy to get into, but also has a lot more to it the further you go along. Rounding this out with some really good animation and action scenes, a strong soundtrack, though personally I'm not a big fan of the dub, mainly thanks to this little twat's voice. And overall you get one of the best shonen animes I've ever seen, and a great place to get into anime and the shonen genre as a whole. And from there, anime will take hold of you and eat your soul, and you'll have Soul Eater to thank for that. My Hero Academia. The superhero genre has certainly boomed in the last couple of years, what with the success of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and DC being a thing? So needless to say, a superhero style anime should be no surprise. Well, My Hero Academia certainly isn't a surprising anime, since the story is nothing we haven't seen before, and this extends to its characters as well. Now before you start raising red flags, while this series is not very original, it embraces everything that makes the superhero and shonen genre great, and captures that type of awe and excitement that is similar to watching anime growing up. My Hero Academia knows exactly what it wants to be, and delivers exactly what you want it to be, making this a great place for new anime fans to get into anime, as well as being an anime that has a huge appeal to it for all the right reasons. My Hero Academia follows the story of Izuku Midoriya, aka Deku, a young boy who one day dreams of becoming a hero. The only problem is that he doesn't have a quirk, which is this world's version of a superpower, and thus he cannot become one. Until one day he runs into his idol, All Might, the world's greatest hero who, after hearing Deku out, decides to give him the power to become a hero, and from there the story follows Deku as he trains to become the next great hero. This story is nothing we haven't seen before, and to be fair, you can predict pretty much everything that's going to happen. I mean, hell, the series has just started and I can already tell what's going to happen in the end, but to be honest, that's kind of a good thing. My Hero Academia doesn't try to be anything new, but rather it focuses on being purely a superhero shonen and exemplifies the best bits of both genres, as well as being a very good underdog story. This transcends into its characters as well, since we've seen these types of characters before, but the way they're written and portrayed makes the best use out of them and gives them enough uniqueness to stand out. Another thing My Hero Academia does very well is its sense of awe and excitement, as you get so invested in wanting to see these characters triumph and become heroes, and you're rooting for them all of the way, especially during this anime's action scenes, which are loads of fun to watch and showcase the heroes using their unique powers and abilities. While not the most original show, My Hero Academia is an anime I think just about everyone can thoroughly enjoy, and though the series isn't finished, there's still plenty of time to get caught up and be ready for the second season. I would like to say more, but I can't spend forever talking about this anime. Besides, this won't be the only time I talk about My Hero Academia. Death Note. I feel anime is a genre that isn't easy to get into or generally frowned upon because of how silly it is. Now I can tell you that anime is home to some very serious and thought-provoking stories, but even I have to admit that anime is generally a very over-the-top genre, what with all the ridiculous hairstyles, shouting at everything, generally saying fuck logic because I'm awesome, as well as Matrix boobs. I still can't believe this is a thing. Well, thankfully, I think Death Note is an anime that can bridge that gap and help people get into anime because of its more serious and down-to-earth tone, while still having a lot of supernatural elements, not to mention being one of the most tense and thought-provoking anime out there. So much so that it was in fact this anime that got me into anime to begin with, and if it was able to convince me, I'm pretty confident it can convince you too. Death Note follows the story of one Light Yagami, a high school student and otherwise child prodigy, who one day stumbles upon a mysterious book known as the Death Note that states if you write someone's name in the book, they'll die. Light thinks nothing of it at first, but then decides to give the book a try, and to his shock and horror, it works. Light then decides to reshape the world in his image and become the god of the new world, all the time trying to avoid suspicion from the mysterious L who is on the hunt for him. Death Note is such a compelling and captivating anime because of how the events that take place unfold, as well as seeing Light come up with various ways to stay unanimous and avoid suspicion, not to mention Light Yagami pretty much makes this show what it is. Light has to be one of the most fascinating and complex characters in any anime, since his actions are in a constant state of moral grey, and you're constantly flip-flopping between wanting to either love him or hate him, which makes the tension in this anime all the more thrilling. The rest of the cast is great too, with some very interesting characters, some very fun characters, and characters I feel get way too much hate. Death Note is also a lot more down to earth than most anime and feels more like a TV drama, but in a good way since it's easier for the audience to get into, and has a story and characters that people can identify with, along with having some very beautiful artwork and an amazing soundtrack. Anime can certainly scare people away with just how silly it can be, but then an anime like Death Note comes along to remind people that anime can be just as adult and mature as any other medium. So what are you waiting for? Sit down, relax, put on Death Note, take a potato chip, and eat it! Cowboy Bebop. What springs to mind when you hear the phrase best anime? Now I'm sure things like Evangelion, Berserk, Bakuno, Fate Zero, Hellsing Ultimate, Sword Art Online? No! Anyway, as I was saying, lots of people have different views on what the best anime is. However, one anime in particular tends to be the first thing that springs into people's minds when asked this question, and that anime is Cowboy Bebop. And to be fair, I get where they're coming from. Cowboy Bebop is such a fantastically done and constructed anime that does so well in just about everything that it has influenced the anime industry in so many ways because of what it has achieved. Needless to say, this is one of the best anime to start with since it can appeal to just about anyone and has something in it for everyone, as well as being just an all-around amazing anime. So let's break this down bit by bit, and as the saying goes, 3, 2, 1, let's jam! The story of Cowboy Bebop follows the crew of the ship Bebop, consisting of Spike Spiegel, Jet Black, Faye Valentine, and Radical Edward, a team of bounty hunters that end up in various different scenarios throughout the course of the story. Much like Ghost in the Shell, Bebop's narrative is made up of mostly standalone stories, with an overarching story occasionally taking the center stage of the narrative, and because of this, every episode of Bebop is unique and offers something new and original to the viewer, making it so that it can cater to just about everyone. This is helped by the fact that Cowboy Bebop takes a lot of influence from Western culture, and often has entire episodes based around specific genres, such as westerns, sci-fi horror, casino heists, and even blaxploitation, making Bebop one of the most stylized and unique anime out there. This is helped greatly by its soundtrack. Cowboy Bebop's soundtrack is legendary for just how great it is, having such musical variety and excelling greatly in both jazz and blues. Not to mention Bebop has one of, if not the best dubs in any anime to date, along with great hand-drawn animation and unforgettable characters. Because of all these elements, Bebop works so well as a gateway anime, as it can offer up something for everyone while being such a unique anime like no other. It's safe to say at this point that Cowboy Bebop stands as one of the greatest anime ever, and in my opinion, one of the greatest gateway anime ever. So if you haven't watched it by now, I encourage you to give it a shot. You won't be disappointed, Space Cowboy. Bang! Code Geass and Guilty Crown. I decided to put both these anime on here not only because they are some of the best anime as a starting point for getting into this genre, but also because both anime are very similar in many aspects. So much so that I did an entire episode of Freefall comparing the two, which you should totally watch by the way. It's one of my personal favourite videos I've made so far. What makes both these anime so great for gateway anime is that they balance so many different genres into one, giving a very wide appeal and being able to cater to many different audiences, as well as easing people into some of the more negative aspects of anime, without tarnishing the series as a whole. While both similar, each of these anime have their own unique elements, and they're both a great place to start watching anime, so in this case you can pretty much pick your poison, except this poison won't kill you. Warning, there is no guarantee that watching Code Geass or Guilty Crown will not result in death. Please view at your discretion. The premise of both Code Geass and Guilty Crown are rather similar. A government nation is currently ruling over and suppressing Japan. Our main character one day gets caught amongst the feud between the two factions, discovers a mysterious girl who gives him special powers, and now seeks to liberate Japan. That's the basic gist, but each of the stories is different in many areas, with Code Geass being focused more on Lucius' actions and the result of what he does, while Guilty Crown is more about Shu's coming of age story and becoming his own person. Both of these anime have a lot going for them, as well as incorporating many genres into their narrative, such as science fiction, mecha, fantasy, romance, as well as a lot of political and real-world issues, so they can be easily enjoyed by just about anyone. On top of that, both of these anime balance all their genres rather well, and create a nice middle ground between being completely serious and completely silly, which can help to ease new anime fans into this type of genre. This is helped by both Code Geass and Guilty Crown having a strong cast of characters, wonderful animation, great soundtracks, especially in the case of Guilty Crown, and overall these anime are just tons of fun to watch. I'll admit, these anime are home to some nasty cliches like scenes of excessive fan service, but they don't dampen the entire experience and can also help get new viewers more accustomed to these cliches, because if you do decide to watch anime, you're going to see a lot of this type of stuff whether you want to or not. Sometimes the best way to get into a new type of medium is to experience it through something that has a bit of everything in it, and well, both Code Geass and Guilty Crown do just that for anime. While they may not be the best anime, I still think they're both great anime by themselves and some of the best anime to start with regardless of which one you decide to watch. But if you want to know which of the two I think is better, well ladies and gentlemen, the answer is right here. Before we get to number 1, I just want to do a few honourable mentions. First up is Maki the Labyrinth of Magic. Much like Soul Eater, Maki is one of the best examples of how to do a shonen right, and I love how this series uses the Arabian Nights setting, but I won't deny that this series is pretty nasty when it comes to certain anime cliches. Second is One Punch Man. This was the biggest anime of 2015 for reasons, since it's a brilliantly written series and delivers in both action and laughs like no other anime. However, I feel you need to be rather familiar with a lot of anime cliches to get most of the jokes. Third is Black Butler. Black Butler is a very entertaining anime and has a lot of charm to it with its various different stories and memorable characters. However, there are some aspects of the show a lot of people will not tolerate for their first anime. Fourth is Psycho Pass. Psycho Pass is very much the Blade Runner of anime, and is one of the best sci-fi anime out there for many reasons. However, much like the movie Blade Runner, if you're not into sci-fi to begin with, I reckon you won't enjoy this anime as much. And finally, there's Steins Gate. Steins Gate is one of the most engaging and interesting animes I've ever watched, and is something I reckon a lot of people will love. However, the first 12 episodes are rather slow, for a reason, so I don't think this anime is the best as your very first anime. Anyway, with that out of the way, on to the number 1 entry. Fullmetal Alchemist and Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. Never has an anime been able to balance so many different genres and elements together so well, and also be one of the greatest anime ever created as much as Fullmetal Alchemist has. Both Alchemist and Brotherhood are to me the perfect gateway anime, since regardless of what you're into and which genres you prefer, Alchemist will have what you're looking for within its narrative. Admittedly, while it doesn't do certain aspects better than other anime do, the way in which it incorporates so many different elements and combines them seamlessly together results in being an anime that literally anyone will enjoy, whether you watch either Alchemist or Brotherhood, as well as being one of the greatest anime ever created. And I don't know about you, but to me, that sounds like the perfect way to start your anime. Fullmetal Alchemist follows the story of the brothers Edward and Alphonse Elric, who are trying to get their original bodies back after attempting to bring back their dead mother went horribly wrong. Tss, typical kids, they always find a way to make things worse. Throughout the course of the story, the Elric brothers journey across the world in search of a way to right the wrongs they've done, and along the way they find out the truths about the ones controlling the world, as well as being thrust into situations much bigger than the both of them.
Who you calling little?
No, Ed, now calm the fuck down and drink your milk.
You drink it, I hate milk, it's like drinking vomit.
Ugh, fucking teenagers. The main draw of Alchemist and why it's the best gateway anime is that it has literally everything. Fullmetal Alchemist is made up of various different genres and has various different themes surrounding its characters and their stories, from science fiction, to fantasy, to comedy, to drama, to crime and horror, to themes of revenge, racism, religion, redemption and so on, and every single one of these aspects is woven beautifully into its narrative, never seeming out of place or unnecessary. The way in which Alchemist tells its story while being able to handle all these themes is masterfully done, and results in a journey we can all relate to and grow from, much like the characters. Speaking of which, the characters in Alchemist are truly spectacular, as each of them have personality, a story to tell, and grow significantly throughout the course of the story, and by the end you really feel like you know these characters. Adding to this is some great animation for both series, a brilliantly done soundtrack and dub, some of the best moments in anime period, and overall, both Alchemist and Brotherhood are timeless anime, and while each version is different with Brotherhood following the manga, either one of them are fantastic anime and are the best place to start if you want to get into anime. And there you have it. Both Fullmetal Alchemist and Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood are my number one personal best gateway anime, as they are both some of the greatest anime, hell stories ever told, and are able to incorporate and balance so many different elements together that no matter who you are or what you're into, Alchemist will have something for you, which is why it takes the number one spot as my personal greatest gateway anime. This has been Blazing Knight. I wish you all a great night, take care, and even though getting into anime might not be the easiest thing in the world, it's so worth it for all the greatness anime has to offer, and hopefully these 10 anime will lead the way for you. Man, I've come a long way with anime since I began watching Pokemon when I was a child. Speaking of which, I haven't made a Pokemon video in a long time, and with Sun and Moon around the corner, I think the time is nigh to try and catch 'em all. Hey everyone, thank you for watching today's video. If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, and why not subscribe to my channel in order to keep up to date with when the new videos are coming out. For alternate video recommendations, I first point you to my last video, Top 10 Monster Hunter Subspecies, where I look at my 10 favourite subspecies from the Monster Hunter series. Next up, I point you to Top 10 Most Disappointing Anime, where I look at my top 10 anime that I found to be the most disappointing. And for something completely different, why not check out my top 7 Smash Bros. DLC characters, where I look at my 7 favourite DLC characters from Super Smash Bros. For the Wii U and 3DS. Hopefully one of those videos will be to your liking. Once again, thank you all for watching, and don't forget to follow me on Twitter at BLAZINGKNIGHT. And I want to say a big thank you to all of you who follow me on Amino, and a late happy birthday to Juan E. Camposano. Sorry I couldn't meet the deadline, but best birthday wishes to you. Anyway, that's it from me, I'll see you all next time.